Everybody, welcome back for another episode. So we are going to continue construction on the doghouse for the motor, and we're going to build a lid for this thing. So let's do it, and let's see what it looks like.
No, you're not bringing home another piece of junk.
All right, so as someone pointed out on the last video in the comments, I don't remember who, said, hey, isn't the carburetor going to stick up above that doghouse? And yes, if I put a flat top on it, it would, but we're not going to do that. If you've ever had one of these vans from the 60s, you know they kind of had like a domed top on them. So that's what we're going to build. We're going to build it with some square 3/4 inch square tubing and some sheet metal. And I've been thinking about the bolt down option versus the hinge option, and I think I've got some ideas on how to hinge this thing and kind of put like a prop rod in here, so I can hinge it up, flip up the prop rod, and have it hold it up. So that's kind of the route we're going to go here. Now, I went and picked up some metal this morning. We got some 3/4 inch 16 gauge tubing. I wanted something lightweight because I don't want this thing to weigh 500 pounds. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. So let's get an idea of how tall we need to make this thing. So I went ahead and set the carburetor on there, just kind of get an idea, and I set my little air cleaner on there. Let me grab my tape, and we'll get an idea how tall we're going to make this thing. I kind of got the picture in my head of what I want. So I want a little bit of space. So let's make it 4 inches tall. Yeah, let's make it 4 inches tall. It'll give me a little bit of clearance under there, and not too. I don't want to make it real tall up here, but you know, enough here that I can comfortably set my arm on it when I'm driving without my arm being way up in the air. So I think that'll work good. Okay, so first thing I want to do is let's just go ahead and make the basic square. We'll cut a couple lengths here, and we'll cut a couple lengths there, and we'll tack that together. And I want to get that frame put together, and then I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do to go across the back to make something for the back of it to kind of sit on, that the hinges can bolt to, so we can hinge this thing. So all right, let's do that first, and then we'll take another look. Okay, so there's step one. We got the little frame welded together. Now this is going to sit on top of there. Now some of my gaps are not that great. We might have to do a little finagling on that to get that to work right. But I'm sure a nice foam gasket under there will take some of that up. And I'm going to bring the lip of that metal down over this, so it's not just going to have that gap. The metal that's going to come down the side is going to overhang about that much, so it'll kind of come down. That'll keep it from going side to side, and kind of seal that gap off. So all right, so the next thing I want to do is, I'm not just going to make this thing a square. I'm going to follow this angle here, so we're going to like angle these pieces up at a 45, and then I think I'm going to do the same in the back to give me room to hinge when I lift this thing up. So let me do a little calculating. We'll cut these 4 pieces. We'll get them tacked on there, and then we'll make the top 4 square pieces for this thing. And then once we got that done, then we'll start cutting up this roof skin, and I'm going to have to strip all the paint off of it, off the piece that I cut. And I want those lines to follow these lines. So we just want to come up, and we'll just fold that over so these lines will continue up into here and then back and over. So all right, let's build some more frame on this thing and see what it looks like. All right, so I cut these little guys, and you kind of see how this is going to angle. My chop saw does not make a perfect 45. It's kind of an old beater chop saw. So I'm just using the magnet to get my 45 right. You see that little gap there? It's not quite perfect, but that's all right. We'll use the magnet, get that squared up. So let's get these 4 guys tacked on there, and then we will make the long pieces to go this way, and we'll make a couple of pieces to go that way. And that should be the frame part of it. So let's weld this dude up and see how she comes out. Okay, so that's what she looks like. I kind of goofed on this angle up here. I wanted this angle to match that angle. I guess that wasn't a perfect 45, but hey, it's straight across there, and so we'll go with it. It'll be all right. All right, so we just need to get some I need to get some sheet metal on this, and I need to make a cross piece to go across the back there, where when that back rail there comes down, that it's gonna sit on. So I think we're gonna make that out of some 1.5" tubing, square tubing, and kind of make that a bolt-in piece so that we can unbolt this and take it off. We can unbolt the sides and take them off. And yeah, that's what I want to be able to take this off, take the sides off, so that we can have access to pull the engine if we need to. But I think this came out pretty decent. We'll go with it. Okay, so let me get let's cut the side sheet metal pieces first. They are just going to be regular old flat 18 gauge. I got a sheet of it over there. So we'll do that, and we'll get those tacked on. And it's gonna take me a while to get that. That's probably a couple hours of sanding to get all that off of there, all that paint off of that roof skin. But I want that roof skin to wrap here, here, and down the back side, so all that one piece. Okay, let's get the sides made, and we'll see what they look like. We'll go sides, we'll go back piece, and then we'll work on the front piece. All right, so there we go. Looking pretty good, I think. I think I'm gonna go ahead and put a brace in the middle, just so we don't have that big long span without any bracing in it. Because I think this roof is like, I don't know, it's probably 18 gauge. And if you can see, they have braces back there, so we'll go ahead and put another brace across there. And but I'm liking the looks of it. I think it's coming out good. So next thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and see, I got the lip. We're coming down about 1.5 inches over this thing, so that kind of lines it up and kind of gives it a track to ride in. Okay, so next thing we're gonna do is make a piece for that back. We'll get that on there. And in the same time frame, well, we'll get that on there first, figure out how that's going to attach, and then I'll go ahead and pull this off. We'll set it back over here, and we'll cut the piece for it, and I'll go ahead and start stripping all the paint off it. It's going to be a job to strip that thing. So All right, I had a bunch of good video of me building this frame, and I thought I put it on time lapse for all the welding, and I put it on slow motion. So I'm not going to use that video. That's not in here. That's why we jumped from just having the frame to having the whole thing built. So I kind of messed my camera up there. But anyway, let's get this back piece made. I'll show you what I'm going to do, and we'll go from there. Okay, I got that piece bolted in and just kind of welded a couple little tabs onto the side, screwed it in sideways, and that's going to hold her good and solid. And we'll put a piece of foam behind that, and then like behind these edges, so that will seal that when we put that on there. And then we'll also put some foam in between this edge and then around the pan. So okay, and next thing we're going to do, let's put a brace on this thing, and then let's go ahead and cut out the material for the top and see what that looks like. Okay, so frame is all together there, and I got this piece over here, and I have got just enough. In fact, there's these, you see this rib is solid all the way down. These two ribs, they got like a little flat spot in the middle, so we'll just call that decor and use it. So if I make a cut here and I just cut this rib off, I'm going to have just enough, and trim a little bit off the edges to be able to make my piece out of this. So good thing I hung on to this, came in useful. All right, so let's go ahead and cut this and see what we got. Check something on here real quick. All right, let's see what we got here. cut too much off that side. Nah. It'll be close, it's just not going to line up exactly. What are you going to do? Can't put it back on. Yeah, I kind of like them in there. Let's see what we got from this side. Within 1/4 of an inch, so it's not bad. All right, well, the first thing I need to do is strip all this paint off and get it down to bare metal. And then we're gonna have to, so this will bend here. I'm gonna have to figure out where it cut. And we're just gonna have to cut a little notch there, a little notch there, here and here, to be able to get this to fold down. But yeah, I think I like it. Okay, I think I'm gonna quit there for today. I think I'll work on stripping this piece of metal out, and then tomorrow morning I'll come out here and we'll see about getting this tacked down on here, and then see what we can do about some kind of hinge. All right, we'll pick this back up in the morning. Okay, so we got the roof sheeting cleaned up and put on there. Just laying on there. I need to weld it on, but I'm kind of bummed a little bit because I trimmed a little bit too much off this side. I measured 6.5 over here, and I came over here and marked it at 5.5. I don't know why. So I got a little fudge room. I can kind of move it over a little bit, but I really wanted those ribs to line up perfectly with these ribs. And it's going to be off a little bit. It's going to be off 1/4 of an inch. So probably something I'll notice more than anybody else noticed, but it still just kind of bugs crap out of me. So, but hey, that's car building for you. All right, so I've got these bent, and we'll get this all tacked down, and then I'll go ahead and cut this, notch this rib here like I did here for a little relief, and then we'll bend these guys down. In fact, I might do that before I weld it, just to make sure we get that where I want it to be. And then I need to do the same in the back. Yeah, so we're gonna kind of notch that out and bend that guy down too. So I got some little hinges to put on this thing. We'll see how they work. Got some of that expandable foam tape to put around there, and we're going to I'm gonna paint once we got everything fitted. I'm gonna kind of pull this back apart, and I'm gonna go ahead and put some paint on the inside of this thing. And then I've got some generic Dynamat coming today. We'll put that in there. The outside will just be clear. And then the same thing in here. We'll put some Dynamat on the inside of that thing, but I don't want it rusting under there, so we'll just fog a little spray bomb in there to give it some protection. And got some seam sealer. We'll seam seal the inside of it so we don't have, because I'm not going to fully weld these. I just kind of spotted them and ground them down. So we'll do the same here, and I'll just seam seal the inside of that so that we don't have heat coming up through the edges. But it's coming along good. I think this is working pretty good. So let me go ahead and get these guys notched, get this bent down on both ends. We'll make sure we got a decent fit, and then we will go ahead and start tacking. So it's coming along. Okay, I mean, it don't look bad. It's kind of a bummer that two things that bug me is these don't perfectly line up, and then this angle is not the same as this angle. I wish I got that nice straight flow in there. But, you know, I've never built anything like this, so it is what it is. I'm not going to go back and redo it. I do think it looks kind of cool with the ribs up there, even with the few little oopsies. So we have my little cup holder here, put my coffee on, you know. All right, well, I got to pull that off there and do some finish welding on it. And I bought some little hinges and want to see if we can make these work. Just some little guys. You don't have to do much, just hold the back of it. And if I can get in there, I may be able to get in there and tack those in there. Probably what I need to do, oh, there you go. Probably what I need to do is weld them onto the back of this. And then weld them onto that brace. And then, if you want to take the top off, that brace bolts in, so just unbolt that brace and it'll come out with the top, with the hinges. So yeah, I can live with that. That's not bad. There's a seat here yet to check the height on that thing. Tell you what, let's set the seat in there and just see what the height looks like. See if I can put this camera on here without hitting the wrong button and shutting it off. All right. There. Seat goes there. Get it in here. Yeah, that's good. I can dig that. Okay, let's do a little where I made these relief cuts here. Let's go ahead and finish weld them up. And I want to go inside and tack it to the braces in there from the back side, just to make sure this thing isn't rattling like crazy when it's going down the road. But yeah, I hear that killing myself. Oh yeah. Not perfect, but for my first attempt at building something like this, I'll take it. All right, we'll check back in a bit here. Okay, there we go. So she is all the finished welding is done. I am not gonna weld the whole thing and grind it. We're just gonna leave I did lots of spot welds and smooth them out. Then I went along underneath and just welded from the brace to the sheet metal so that it wouldn't rattle, and it doesn't. So, and then we get the once I get the insulation up under there, that'll deaden some of that ringing too. So I'm pretty happy with the way that came out. I don't have a latch on it yet. I'm kind of still tossing around some ideas of what to do about a latch. But anyway, let's get it back up on there and figure out what we're going to do about these hinges. I'm trying to, man, I can weld them on there, and then that piece will have to come out with it. I'm just wondering how hard that is going to be to put in if I have to try to hold the lid up and that down and screw them things in. How much of a booger that's going to be, but you know, we'll figure that out. So thinking. Now let's just get it up on there and try it and see what it looks like. Okay, I like it. I mean, even though my lines up here aren't what I want them to be, I like the look of it. It's got that good cross between homemade, utilitarian, and not decently finished look. We'll say that. So get some clear on that thing. I think that's going to look good. So these hinges are not going to work. There's just not enough room in the back to be able to put something like this on. So I've got an idea to make some hinges that'll go on the side that can just bolt on and off, and that way make this much easier to take off when I need to. So let me cut a few pieces of square tubing, show you what I'm thinking, and we'll give this thing a try and see what it looks like. Okay, so let me show you my idea for some hinges. I just rooted through all my junk stuff here, and I've got various doodads. So I cut some length of this square tubing and drilled a couple of holes in there, and I'll show you what we're going to do here. First thing we're going to do is kind of notch this thing. Put a couple little oval marks in there, because what I want to do is weld this bolt to there. I'll show you why. See that? Alright, so just made a little saddle for that bolt to sit in there. It's going to go just like that. It's a little off. Let me want a good 90-degree angle on that thing. Good. All right, so let's weld this guy up. just like that. Stuff over here. Welding gloves. All right. Just like back side here. Straight. Okay. Now to cut the head off that bolt. Go back of it. Oops. Gotta be plugged in. Put a little weld on the back of that to make sure that don't go anywhere. All right. So, that is really hot. That is going to be half the hinge that will bolt to the bottom part of the doghouse. And then here, we need the top part of the hinge. So this little sleeve slides right over that bolt. Now, I'm going to need this. A second. This needs a bolt on the top, but it needs to be somewhat flush. It's going to stick out a little bit. Let me take a quick measurement, be right back with you. Okay, so this outer lip here sticks out about a third, maybe a half of the width of this square tubing from the underside. About that. So we want we're gonna have a piece bolted on there, we're gonna have a piece bolted on there, and they're gonna pivot on each other. So what we want to do is we're gonna have this welded to this about that much. And I think what we'll do is we'll go up and over like that. I'll put a little mark on here. Yeah, I think that's right. All right, let's weld that up and take a look. Out of the way. Believe that will work. It's on there. Okay. Now we want to cut some of this guy off. Let's do it like this. Woo. good. Okay. Enough left to do the other one. So, what we should have is this one bolted to the side, to the doghouse base. And we slide this guy over it. Scoot over it. Like so. I'm going to put a few, oh no. So, and then there's our little overlap, because this is going to stick it, the lid is going to stick out a little higher. And then when we lift the lid, it should hinge like that. You really don't even have to put any nuts on these, I don't think, because you're going to screw this on, slide this on, and screw it onto the doghouse. So the only way it would come off is the bolts would have to come out. But I guess you could get, I can use one of those nuts with the nylon things on it, or I could just put a pin through it, or like I said, I don't know that you really even need anything. That looks pretty good. Let me cut that bolt off. We're not gonna need that much bolt. I like it. I think it'll work. Okay, let me I'm gonna pile a little more weld in there just to make sure that thing don't go anywhere, which I don't think it will, but and then let me go ahead and make another one, and then we will stick them on there and see how they work. Back in just a few. Okay, there we go. I think those are going to work. Let me get some self tappers. We'll slap these things on there and we'll see how they work. All right, there we go. I think those look pretty good, and I think they're going to work good. So let's let me find some self tappers, and we will slap these things on here and see how they do. Okay, so there you go. It's on there. So what I ended up doing was welding the top of the hinge and bolting the bottom of the hinge. So if you want to take this thing off, 4 screws and the whole thing comes off. So I think that's going to work pretty good. And then I made a little handle here, and she lifts up good. Just doesn't give you a whole lot of room in there to mess around, but like I said, if you got to take it off, you can. I'm going to put a hood prop under here. So this will give you enough to, if you just want to check the oil, check the training fluid, you know, check the coolant, throw a belt on it, plug wires. You can do that with this. Or like I said, it'll be real easy to come off. So that's it for the doghouse, except I'm getting, like I said, I'm getting some Dynamat today, and we're going to, I guess this week, we'll pull all this apart, we'll put the foam tape in there, we'll paint the inside what we're going to paint. I got some seam sealer we're going to put on some places inside, and I'm going to finish welding those hinges up there, just kind of tacked on there. But that's it, and I think it's good. All right, so something I've never done before is track how much a project costs. I usually just spend money till it's done. So this time, you know, I'm curious. How much do you actually put into one for what I'm thinking about doing? So here's where we started. We paid $1,300 for the car. We paid $400 for delivery. And we paid $70 for that tail light off of eBay. So that's where we are right now. And like I said, I'm not really going to dig into this thing until we get this on the road, but I feel like I'm making pretty good strides with this thing now. So anyway, this week on the truck, we're going to finish off the inside of that, and I think I'm going to focus on doing what I need to do to get the engine running. I'm going to take the dry shaft up to the shop, get it shortened. Like I said, get the inside of that done. We'll get the radiator put back in there permanently, get some hoses run, get some jumper wires run for what we would need to start it. I got a kit for the carburetor, you know, that kind of stuff. That's what we'll be doing this week. But yeah, it's coming along good. So all right, well, let's get a word from the Lord, and that will be it for this one. Hey everybody, thanks for coming along on the video today. One thing I did forget to mention was we took our first camping trip in the RV earlier this week actually, and went pretty good. We had water heater leaked on me. Was that the only problem I had? Oh, and I ran out of propane. We was trying to put propane in the propane tank, and there's a little something or another on the bottom of the fill valve that kept leaking. I thought it was a bleeder, but I couldn't get it to stop. So I got to figure that out, and I'm got to fix the leak in the water heater line. So not too terrible. Motor ran good, got us there, got us back. You know, didn't have quite as much guts as that big block did, but it did fine. We got up and down the hills without going down to 30 miles an hour. So we did okay. And we had a really good time too. Caught a few fish, so had a good time. Anyway, message for today is when I was doing my Bible study this morning, there's an article in here by Gordon R. Lewis, who I have no idea who that is, but it is What is Divine Revelation? So I thought we'd share a little bit of this article with y'all here today. Just a one-pager, so let's just read some of this. It says, revelation is an activity the invisible living God makes known to finite and sinful people, his creative power, moral standards, and gracious redemptive plan. Very gracious. First, God discloses himself and his power to everyone by the marvels of his creation, the amazing life support system of planet Earth. We can discover some things about painters from their paintings. Similarly, in the magnificence of creation, with its microscopic complexities and cosmic expanse, we realize our dependence upon the Creator's powerful existence and intelligent design. I talk about William Lane Craig on here a lot. Pull up something on YouTube of his and listen to his discussions on the fine-tuning of the universe. That's kind of what they're talking about here. Very cool stuff. Second, God makes plain his moral nature and ethical principles for our well-being by implanting oughts and ought-nots in every human spirit. Even people who have not heard Moses' 10 Commandments feel an obligation to obey those universal principles of right and wrong and suffer guilt when they do not. I think that's one of the hallmarks of intelligent design, intelligent creation. If we were, as Darwin suggested, just merely animals, I don't think we would have developed a sense of right and wrong. Anyway, God's morals principles restrain evil and prompt all to seek and find him. However, everyone sins, worships, and serves the creation rather than its creator. Our habitual failure to live up to God's law demonstrates our need for his mercy and redeeming grace. Amen to that. Third point of divine revelation, God made his merciful redemptive purposes known centuries before Christ, both through mighty acts such as delivering Israel from slavery in Egypt and through the reliable message of his prophetic spokesman. Criteria by which to distinguish true from false prophets included the local consistency of teaching with previous revelation and the verification of visible signs. God promised to send his anointed one to defeat Satan's destructive purposes in many ways. The Messiah would be a son of Eve, a descendant of Abraham and David, and would be born of a virgin in Bethlehem. So all fulfilled prophecies there, hundreds and hundreds of years before it actually happened. Because those who chose the way of sin chose a way that ends in death. Without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness. So believing citizens of Israel pictured Christ's coming sacrificial atonement for sin by animal sacrifices and the Passover. You notice that when they did the sacrifices, it had to be a continual thing because the blood of the animal only covered the sin temporarily. And once Christ came and shed his blood for us, the blood sacrifice is permanent. We are forgiven if we just accept the gift now. I lost my place. Okay, because those who chose the way of sin chose a way that ends in death. Without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness. So believing citizens of Israel pictured Christ's coming sacrificial atonement for sin by animal sacrifices and the Passover. Fourth point, God made his just and loving plan of redemption known supremely in Jesus along the way to Messiah. No one has ever seen God, the one and only Son, who is himself God and is at the Father's side. He has revealed him. To appreciate more fully what God is like, study the life, works, and atoning death of Jesus. At Calvary, the guiltless Savior substituted himself for the guilty, just like we just said. In doing so, he defeated Satan and provided the just basis for his reconciling mercy and grace. Then the risen Christ demonstrated his saving power over sin, guilt, death, and Satan. And that's a good deal for us. Fifth, the fifth point. After Jesus' ascension into heaven, God communicated his redemptive purposes through spokesmen called apostles. Jesus taught and trained them for 3 years, and they were eyewitnesses of his resurrection. Through Paul, an apostle who later saw the risen Christ, God revealed the plan to unite both Jewish and Gentile believers in one body, the church. The sixth point, the King of Kings will be revealed in all his power and glory at the second coming, which I personally believe is not that far off. And the seventh and final point, all the above sources of revealed truth have been preserved for us in the Holy Scriptures. So, great article there. I don't know if I could expound on any more than what all is said there. So, if you happen to have that Apologetic Study Bible, which I've kind of recommended a few times, you ought to get that. That's a great article in there. Gordon R. Lewis. I'm going to have to look up who that dude is. He's got some good stuff to say. So, thank God for that saving grace, that divine revelation, that forgiving me when I am definitely guilty and not worth forgiving. We are sinful creatures and we continue to sin, but God loves us so much that He laid it all out there. You know, He has sacrificed the blood of His own Son to cover our sins, just because He loves us, just because He wants us to spend eternity with Him, and all we got to do is accept the gift, and that's an awesome thing. So let's have a word of prayer, and we'll be out of here. Father, just thank you for today. Thank you for your divine word. Thank you for the sacrifice that you made for us, for paying the price to get us into heaven. You know, we can't get there of our own merit. We could never be good enough. No matter what, when we pass, and our works are put on one side of the scale, it will always be short. We need your grace and we need your salvation to be with you, and we thank you so much for providing that. And I just pray for everyone out there who watches this channel who may not know you yet, just that you would use this, use what we say here and what we do here to bring them closer to you, to give them the yearning in their soul and the yearning in their inside of them to seek you out. And we ask this in the precious name of your Son, Jesus. Amen. All right. Hit like, hit subscribe. Next Saturday, May the 4th, Faith Baptist Church in Festus, Missouri, is the first Jeffco Christian car show. Coffee and cars, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the morning. If you watch this channel and you're close to there, come on down. We'll probably put a video of some of the stuff that goes on there next week. So we'll catch you on the next one.